you want Dearden or Townsend back?
Not really, man.
Can't give them away.
Welcome back to episode 12 of the Catch and Pass podcast. This week, the full squad is back with Dave, Brad, Al, and myself. On this week's episode, we're going to go over round 16 results. We'll touch on the Dragons debacle, State of Origin Game 2, the team list for Game 3. Our top 3 this week is our top 3 number 9s. Then we will wrap it up with our tips for round 17, which is a short round, and then we'll go into our predictions for Game 3. How's it going, boys? What's happening?
Wait, did you say top 3 number 9?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I thought you said hookers, so I'm going to have to do a new list. Right.
I said number 9.
What? How do you earn there, Benny?
I did not pick up on that.
How do you earn there, bro?
Cavs.
Is that Cavs?
Yeah, boy. And it's purely because I just wanted a black hat and one that was fairly plain. I don't really give a shit about it at all.
Purchased in 2016.
Probably would have been around that time, actually, when I bought it, to be honest. But not even joking.
How you going, Dave?
Good, man. Good. Yeah, days off. Just chilling. Pretty pumped. I just got this jersey from Joel Carson. He listens to the podcast, so shout out, mate. Thanks for the jersey.
Oh, is that the one you got from somewhere? I thought it was. You said it was this year's.
No.
That's an old school one. That's got the Ansett sponsors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wow, that's old.
Yeah.
What year would that be? Like 2001?
No, this is 98. 99. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ansett went tits up in 2001 or something, didn't they?
It would have been around that time, yeah.
There you go.
Ansett, that's hectic.
I've got the fucking the Sunday Markets version of the old school one. Doesn't have anything on it except for the fucking Bronx logo.
Try and get a Winfield patch off eBay and sew it on. What have you been up to, Stocksy?
Yeah, just a bit of work from home because New South Wales is fucking killing it at the moment. And even though I live in regional New South Wales, we're still wearing masks and everything, but good to be safe.
So what happens when you go into Canberra? They got nothing.
No, they're the same, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's like Springfield and Shelbyville.
Yeah.
Right, boys. We'll go into the recap of round 16. Just be a fairly quick one. Roosters over this Storm over the Roosters, 46-0. Dragons over the Warriors in Golden Point, 19-18. It's probably the last thing they're going to celebrate this year. Penrith over Para, 13-12. Moses missed that penalty goal to win. Manly over the Dogs, 66-0. Titans over the Raiders, 44-6. Knights over the Cowboys, 38-0. Broncos over the Sharks, 26-18. It's probably Broncos' best performance of this year. And Bunnies over the Tigers, 38-22. I don't know if there's been a time where there's been 3 games in one round with such huge winning margins of 46-0, 66-0, and 38-0. That's insane.
There were also nail biters, though. There was 2 games that went to the wire, or 3 games that went to the wire. So
there was, but I think the trend of massive wins is becoming more and more apparent.
Yeah,
as this year goes on.
Yeah, it's a wonder. I mean, obviously, there's theories that the new rules have contributed to that, but I mean, yeah, it's really hard to say, isn't it?
I didn't think so to start with, but I've listened to a few different people's opinions on it, and I don't necessarily agree that the 6 again rules and whatnot are directly impacting as far as fitness and stuff goes.
Yeah, I was going to say fitness.
But I do agree that the momentum seems to be harder to bring back. Like once a team's up, it seems to be very hard for the other team to drag that back in. I don't know how that really relates to the rule changes, but it must be something.
Well, a team gets a roll on, gets multiple 6 agains. think of it as you're a defending team. You're making extra tackles. You're not getting any rest between sets. It's just tackle, 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 tackle. Then you start getting lazy in your, when you're fatigued, the arm might slip up. Someone goes to the bin, and then that makes it even worse and stuff. It's got to have a factor in there. And then, of course, there's such a big gap between the best teams and the worst teams at the moment. Just the top two teams, and the rest, there's a massive gap.
Well, to be honest, I feel like the gap's even widening between those top two. I think Melbourne's starting to really
I saw Cameron Welch coming on Melbourne. They're poised to become the first team to score 1,000 points in a season.
Yeah, that's. I
think each or something.
But Cameron Welch came out and said he hates the way the game's going with not being able to. What did he say? The wrestle. It wasn't the wrestle. It wasn't something Melbourne like that. But he's he misses the
grind.
The grind. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going through the middle. They're spreading the ball a lot quicker now.
Centers and wingers are getting more involved.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look at Origin. The centers are making the first hit-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
They're making it too fast. I get that where the sort of their idea behind it initially, as far as watching it on TV and trying to make the game a spectacle, but God, you gotta it's gone way too far, I think.
Yeah, it's becoming touch footy.
But I don't know how they bring it back now.
So I reckon there's a gap between 4 and the other 12 teams. There's Penrith, obviously, Storm, Bunnies to a degree, and maybe I don't know who's the fourth, but
Manly,
there's a massive gap. You're
Yeah, well, when you consider the Dragons are in the 8, it shows you how big of a division there is just in those 8 teams.
The fact the Dragons are in there is unbelievable. Dragons and the Sharks, Roosters are in there, and you would they haven't been going as well this year, but they're a team that would be in and around that sort of top 5. But yeah, you look down the list with Dragons, Sharks, Knights, Cowboys, Titans, Warriors, they're all teams on pretty much minus points difference. Every one of them, actually, from the Dragons down, they've had more points put on them than they've scored.
There's been a few teams this year that have been hyped up in the preseason and just disappointing to date so far.
Raiders, man.
Raiders, Warriors, yeah. Cowboys. I think the Warriors will come strong. They'll finish in the 8, I think. But
it's so inconsistent though. The Warriors.
The Raiders missed 65 tackles against the Titans.
That's unbelievable.
65 that's so gross.
Well, they'd missed 22 in the first half, and everyone was like, "Oh man, 22 tackles in the first half." So they went on to double that in the second half.
Does Ricky return fire on Twitter to Mrs. Tarpany with "I can't make them tackle"? Or
he can't do anything at the moment. I don't think.
I think he's lost the group. I think.
I don't think he's lost the group, man.
I don't think he has. I think the team just aren't playing footy. It's completely on them at this point.
No, but whatever he's telling them isn't working.
Whatever he's telling them, they're choosing not to do. They're an uncoachable team. That's what it seems like. And I feel like there's
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I don't think he's the problem. I think the players are the problem. It's just that he seems to have lost control of them.
I do. I do agree with that.
I just want to switch guns in the interest of fairness to the Broncos on the weekend. Cronulla, were they 4 in a row before that game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing pretty good footy.
Who's the centre, the right centre for the Broncos?
Staggs.
Good comeback game, mate.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Staggs. It might be the winger.
Oh, you're thinking of Herbie Farmer?
No, left centre then. Tessie?
No, he's the fullback, mate.
Fullback.
Oh, he scored a good try in the right corner.
Either way, scored a good try.
Yeah. So just being found out for not watching the game.
He had a blinder.
I tell you what, having Staggs at that right centre position made all of the difference, didn't it?
Massive difference.
He's so influential, and I think Tessie knew he was touted as a future fullback, and he had a crack last year, and he got death by social media. He just didn't play very well, but he really showed what he's capable of on the weekend. So I'll stick with him, and a couple of new signings, and we're nearly there.
Makes you wonder why they stuck with Isako for such a long period of time. Was he injured or something? That fella?
He
Just
played
now?
on the wing, mate. He played on. Oh, no, testing you was playing the reserve grade.
That's crazy. Like,
Mm.
Yeah,
what are they doing?
I don't know. I don't know.
If he's playing that well for the Broncos, surely he's killing it at reserve grade.
There's a couple of clubs this year, right now, who are just like, yep, cool, go through the motions and play with what we got. And like I can mention my team, the Cowboys are probably one, Broncos are certainly one, and they're looking forward to next year and the signings. Like in the sort of start of this year, a few teams were talking about their signings. Like there was all the Broncos talk, and then there's Nico Hines at Cronulla, and then there's Dearden and the experiments at the Cowboys with Chad Townsend coming, and now there's Lodge going to the Warriors and Townsend at the Warriors. It's like a couple of these teams are just going through the motions this year, and they know that they're not going to come up
I think the
successful
only.
against the
Sorry,
top
you keep going.
four.
Yeah.
So it's
Well-
it's sad, man. Like I don't remember many seasons in the past where like teams are just kind of whatever. But probably the biggest one for me, man, is the Bulldogs. Like they got pumped on the weekend, and that was a little bit sad to watch. Like, but like I said, probably episode 1 or 2, the Bulldogs will be very close to the top 8, if not in it next year with the signings they've got.
They've
Yeah,
got two big
I-
signings coming in.
I'm
Addo
kind of-
Carr and Matt Burton, man. Matt Burton should change the whole structure of that club, I think.
I feel like the only team that's going to improve that hasn't been good this year is the Broncos. I think the Broncos will be top 8 next year. But I think they're the only one out of the teams that are struggling at the moment that will have huge improvement.
They got to be, man. I'm sick of living in Brisbane and listening to their shit.
I just think
Just
with the
wait till we
signings
win
that
it,
they
mate.
have, I think with the signings that they've got, they're signings that are going to make big changes.
They're not.
Whereas you look at the Bulldogs, and I think that the signings they've got are good ones, no doubt, but I don't think they're going to be, crazy changes to how the team's performing.
You're not going to miss the 8 next year with people like Adam Reynolds. Like he's just going to deliver so much to that club as a halfback. That who are they playing at 5'8" next to him next year?
Stags is
Stags?
Well,
No, we don't know. Staggs has come out and said that he
Gambler's
wants to have
been offered an extension apparently.
Yeah, verbally.
Sorry, Dave. Go on. I didn't get you.
Yeah, Staggs was saying that he'd like to, but he'd like a full preseason there. So I don't think you'll see him there this year. But it wouldn't surprise me if the preseason next year he trains and plays there. So
What's your preference, Dave? Gambler or Stags?
I prefer Staggs in the centre, if I'm being honest. I don't mind Gamble, but to be honest, I think Gamble's just a depth player. I don't think he's a full time half. I think he's just there for a bit of depth. I still think we need to. Yeah. I still think we need to sign either a big number 6 or a big fullback. But
Do you want Dearden or Townsend back?
not really, man.
Can't give him away.
Mate, I watched Dearden on the weekend, and
It was
I'm
bad.
serious. Like, so many people were bagging out Kevy for when he let him go and the head of football, and honestly, like it's not a big loss. Reece Walsh, on the other hand, is a big loss, but Dearden, I was just like, man,
Yeah.
I don't know. He could come good, man, but he's still young.
I'll go. Just want to touch on this quickly as well. It's the whole. You let Walker go. You let Walsh go. These guys weren't known footballers. Like, were they in the system as absolute guns at the Broncos?
Yeah, bro. Reece Walsh was absolutely known, man.
Okay.
He
Reece Walsh
was killing it and stuff, but and Kevy's come out and said that he was of the opinion that he needed a bit more time in reserve grade before blooding him, and he puts his hand up and says that was the wrong call in hindsight. But you just don't know that, do you? You
It's
don't
all in
know.
hindsight, that's the problem.
Players can kill it in reserve grade and then just be complete melts in fucking first grade, and it's just one of those things you don't know until you take the plunge. And it's just, what was disappointing was seeing the preseason form he had for us, and then he was just gone, and everyone was just like going, "Fuck yeah, we can't wait for this kid to debut." But then he was just gone, and
and especially
So
when
did he
we
play
were,
preseason games with the Broncos this
yeah,
year?
he played preseason at fullback, carved up at fullback, but like Alan said, Kevy was persistent that he just needed time to grow. He needed time to grow, blah blah blah. And even though we had such struggles at fullback, he wasn't even allowed a crack. That's what's the most disappointing thing, is he just wasn't even allowed a debut game or a crack. And Warriors
Well-
went, we've see the talent in this kid. We'll
You can't
take
be
him,"
sitting
and-
on players that are guns like that anymore. Like it's not
Well,
like 20 years ago when you could do that, where it wasn't
No.
unusual for players to sort of sit in the lower grades.
Well,
to
I hate to
evaluate.
lift topics from rival podcasts, but another rugby league podcast I
Don't
was
say it.
listening to mentioned that so the host of this podcast is a former NRL player, and he mentions that when he was playing, that in that sort of circumstance, the coach would promise you if you extend on, we may have to pay you unders for a year or two, but then you'll get the big money. But if you just extend now, then I promise you'll be playing first grade next year.
Yeah.
And then the player goes, "Oh, great, I'll sign." And then you say, "Sorry, mate, you're not making the team." But then they're contracted, and then they still develop. But then at the end of the day, when they do crack in, they're absolutely ready. And that's the sort of thing that they kind of needed to do. It's just like because he left, he wanted to play first grade. They just needed to get him to sign and say, "Yeah, mate, you'll be playing first grade."
Give him a fucking
Why?
debut. Give him a debut and go, great debut, sign, and then chuck him back in Q Cup. Like, it was just really shit management. And the reason we have old mate behind me as the new head of football is because of that. Because the board and the
Exactly.
head of football was so fucking stupid. They couldn't realise that. He's got the arse, and that's why we got Benny Eichen in, and we're undefeated under Eichen. Whatever.
That is the
right.
common theme when it comes to the Broncos after the last 2 or 3 years is management. Like that's the thing. Pretty much a lot of the bullshit sort of stems from poor management, and
Yeah,
it kind of
big
goes
time.
to show. I think one of
Boris.
the coaches from back in the day used to say that winning starts from the front office, and this sort of proves that that's the case.
Yeah, and these guys, look like they're trying to fuck a doorknob or something.
I've just got another thing written down as well, Hodgie, that I want you to clarify because it's your team. But Luai and Cleary out for the next 2-3 weeks, maybe.
Cleary definitely. Up
Luai.
until I think Luai's out with the knee, and they're not 100% sure. It'll probably be a couple of weeks,
Obviously, Burton goes to 6.
and they'll fucking bring Tyrone May back in and play 7, like they did last week. And it's a stupid idea, but I think he's all that we have. To be honest, I don't know.
It's probably not the worst time of the season for them to be out because they can still make their charge for top 4, if not 1 or 2. Don't get me wrong.
It's not. You're
it's
right.
not-
It isn't.
It's not disaster just yet, but it's pretty.
Yeah, I just hate for the team as a whole to lose a little bit of momentum. Like you can already see they've lost that little bit of spark that they had at the start of the year.
Yeah.
They didn't play very well against Parra. Both teams probably deserve to lose that game. Penrith's got pretty lucky with the fact that Moses missed that goal at the end. I don't know. It's so hard to say now. It's almost like a little bit deflating seeing how Penrith are sort of on that bit of a slide now with injury and whatnot. And Melbourne are just if it was
Melbourne's
even
done
possible, have kicked to another
Done it
level.
for so long. That's
And,
why, man.
Yeah.
This is Penrith. Well, it's not their first time at the top. They were at the top last year, but Melbourne's been at the top for 10, 15 years. So
Penrith got very
always
lucky
gotten-
last year in not having any injuries though, as well.
Yeah,
This is where they've really had some adversity thrown at them, and they're dealing with it okay. Like they haven't really gone out and got pumped, but there is a very noticeable difference between when Luai and Cleary are there and when they're not. And you can't you look at the Storm system, they win and they consistently win because it doesn't matter if they lose players. There's other players that are going to step in and do probably not as good of a job, but will do a job that's good enough to keep the momentum and keep winning. Penrith aren't doing that. It's obviously they have a little bit of depth here and there. Like you got Burton and stuff that can step in, but Burton is a half. I'm personally not convinced about. He's gun center and can play off other people, and he's got a huge boot on him. But I don't know. You look at him play with Tyrone May when both of them were out, and I don't know. I just don't think he's probably he is a good half. I'm not going to say that he's shit, but he's not Cleary and he's not Luai and he's not a player that's really going to lead a team around the park. And that's where I go back to my thing about the Bulldogs is it's a great signing for the Bulldogs, but is he going to be the reason that they turn around in form? I'm not convinced.
Got
That
the week off at
whole
least.
club
So.
needs a shift, mate.
What's that?
Oh, I said the whole club needs to shift.
Yeah, I just said the whole club needs a culture change that's in the doggies.
They got.
Mm.
It's hard to even pinpoint where their problems are because on paper their team's not real bad. Like it's not great, but it's not what they've been producing, and you can kind of see it in like Barrett sat down at the press conference and his first thing was fuck's sake, like I have to go through this shit again.
Oh man.
And that
Feel so bad
shows
for
that
him.
it's more. Oh man, I feel terrible because he's a
There'll,
good coach.
there'll be 5,
Wait,
6,
and
7
I-
players that have played this year that won't be in that team next year.
100%.
did-
They'll play in house.
I don't want Barrett to have to go through any more unnecessary stress in case it makes his face crack. And I can't handle him losing those fucking looks, man.
Such a dreamboat.
Oh, mate.
He'll look like complete shit by the end of his 3-year tenure or whatever it is.
Yeah, he'll
All
look
right,
like fucking
let's move on
trouble.
to the Dragons. Obviously, it's probably the biggest story going around at the moment. I don't know if there's not a lot you can say. It's just dumb. Like everything about it's just so like DeBellin. Like, what are you doing, mate? You've been out of the game for 2 years for essentially something that you didn't do. You finally get back, and then the first thing you do is
Well, they couldn't prove.
I mean, that they couldn't prove. But the first thing you do is when you come back within 3 weeks, is do something you know for a fact you're not supposed to be doing, all for the sake of going around to your mate's place and getting on the beers. Like
Reeks of entitlement.
It's come out. Yeah, it's come out
Entitlement
recently
arrogance.
that it's come out only today or yesterday that they knew what they're doing. The coaches said, guys, like, take it back a bit. Really take this seriously. And supposedly Paul Vaughan is this close to having his contract torn today because they reckon he was a bit of a ringleader. They reckon he's a bit of a anti-COVID, a bit of one of those type of blokes.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, is a bit of a ringleader to the guys. And, if
was
that's
at his
true,
house.
Yeah.
well, that's exactly right. So,
Yeah.
he's fucking going to lose his career.
Supposed to be a senior player.
Yeah, well, no, you're wrong. Someone said today, he's supposed to be. Someone said today was he's played for Australia and New South Wales, and he's not in the leadership group at the Dragons.
There's probably a reason for that.
Well, that's right.
probably
And he was already skating on thin ice prior to this incident because he's breached COVID protocol once before. Now this one, and it's like, and DeBellin hiding under a bed. Like, what are you like?
Dumb, mate. Just dumb.
It's just like
Norman's wallet, man. That's the one that gets me. The cops found his wallet.
You want to talk
Yeah.
about stupid? At least take all your shit with you when you fuck off. It's just
Dumb as fuck, man.
unbelievable.
so. Yeah, over $300,000 in fines. But
But-
the NRL agreed to not suspend them all at once to give the fans a reason to turn up for their games.
Yeah, they're
Which is
spreading over
bullshit
3
in my
games.
opinion. That's
Yeah.
bullshit in my opinion, man. Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, it may come across as a bit fucking old man yelling at cloud again, but seriously, in what circumstance when a bunch of players fuck up do they say, okay, we're going to stagger your suspension so you don't take like too much of a hit on the field? Like, stiff shit, mate. You fucked up.
It's
It's
but
like
it's the NRL. It's the NRL doing it to save their money, man. It's because they still have to have a product out for the people. And don't worry, they're up here thinking, fuck, we're gonna lose so much fucking money. So if we just suspend dribs and drabs,
But
then people
The
still
AFL is
turn up
laughing at
and
us.
revenue
The
all that shit.
The AFL
I know.
is laughing at us, eh?
Yeah.
Man,
We
look,
are-
the AFL, fucking remember Essendon banned fucking 12 players for a year. Gone. You're gone, cunts. And then they just had to get top-up players for the next
That's
12
right,
months,
yeah.
and they got the wooden spoon. Stiff shit, mate. That's what
That's
you
the
gotta
thing I
fucking
don't
stop.
understand.
That's why the NRL is the number one sporting code for fucking itself in the ass. Seriously. Like,
Yeah.
they just...
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand is it's not like the Dragons are going to have to forfeit games. Like they will have players that are eligible and able to play the games in lieu of those people that have been suspended. So yeah, they're probably going to go out and they're probably going to get flogged, but
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah,
going
I
to forfeit, like take
Yeah.
take the 60-0 for 3 weeks in a row because
this
you
is
did the
the
wrong thing.
thing.
And yeah, I've heard people say, "Oh, yeah, but it affects the other team members that did the right thing." Okay,
Good.
well,
Doesn't matter.
make those people responsible who did the wrong thing to be the people that front up and have to look at those people every
Exactly.
week and watch them play and get flogged.
And that's when your club leaders need to step up and get in these guys' faces and say, I'm out here fucking busting my... Look at Ben Hunt at the moment, man. He's absolutely busting a nut for that club at the moment.
Yeah.
And it
Busting
shows
a
because
gut, rather.
it shows because he wasn't there. Married guy, probably at home with his wife, and you got these other clowns like Ben Hunt.
Even Tarek Sims, mate. Tarek Sims just made the New South Wales team. He's got boys. I'm not going.
Yeah.
There.
But look at your grubs there, like sorry, Al. Norman, you know,
Dufty.
obviously Vaughan, Dufty, that
DeBellin.
bloke that almost melted Pappenhausen, that Famione or his name is, DeBellin's
but when you, I mean, and that's the thing that's most disappointing, and that's why I think they needed to go hard at them with the suspension thing and make them field their New South Wales Cup team for a couple of weeks, because then it gets guys like Sims and Hunt and McCulloch and stuff like this to say this is bullshit. Why are we the ones who are trying to get this club going? Hook Griffin, mate, he has brought that club out of the doldrums in under a season and got them in the 8, and this is how they repay him.
He told them, apparently he was the one that told them no partying tonight, no drinking, no shenanigans.
But how fucking dumb are they? They've been struggling all year, and then they get that 1 point loss, 1 point win that put them into the 8.
Yeah,
they finally got into the 8. And now,
I mean, the people that it should hit most of all is that in the world where they did all get suspended together, the fans. I mean, it's exactly like you said, Dave. It's all about money for the NRL. They don't want to lose out, but this is the sort of thing that the fans need to cop, and so they can start contacting the club and saying, we're not putting up with this bullshit. Well, they need to, respond, vote with your feet, fans, and it's fucked. It's fucked that a player and a group of players could treat their fans like that.
Well, the fans aren't happy because they put Vaughan's house on the news. Do you see that? They
No.
showed footage of his house, and fans have been going past tooting their horns at all hours of the morning.
Really?
Yeah, yelling out. Yeah.
No.
They had his house on the news, like this is where the party was.
If they're smart, if the board's smart, they need to cull Vaughan, Corey Norman, Dufty. Like they need a big cull because I think.
Well, they're already culling Dufty.
Norman's not even on contract next year.
What's his name was there as well? Moose Maguire. Like it's just a bunch of guys that fuck that culture, mate. They need to fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. All serial fuckwits. Well,
yeah. That's true. That's
you're
what
right. Mate, you're right.
Maguire was all right until he went to the Cowboys, I think. But
clean skin.
I can't believe.
Right, anyway, let's. That's obviously. Dragons are fucked. Their season's essentially over. I think after this, I can't see how they're going to remain in the 8 or do anything until next year. It'll be interesting to see who they're on contract and if Vaughan gets to keep his contract. We're going to State of Origin Game 2. New South Wales Raptors.
Yeah, just skip that.
Better, closer game than Game 1, but God, Queensland's team at the moment is struggling a little bit as far as selections playing on the field. I think
we just lost
maybe
motivation.
In a couple of years. DCE, if Norben. I think they're probably looking to be a bit better going forward. They do have a few young stars and everything coming through at the moment, but at the moment, you got people like DCE, who his attitude after the game probably wasn't the best. I think their effort was better, but
Munster at half time said it himself in the interview. He said the halves aren't controlling the game. Like no shit, we weren't allowed to. Like New South Wales were running up 6-7 meters in defence and like smothering the halves, and then all of a sudden our forwards are making a 2 meter gain.
Well, you look at when they kicked off New South Wales, their first defensive set, I think New South Wales barely got out of their 10. The very next defensive set, I think New South Wales gained 30 or 40 metres easily. And that was the last time they put in a good defensive set, was aside from the first one. So it's just like, I mean, again, their team on paper shouldn't be as far behind New South Wales as what they are. But I don't know what's going
But
on with
we-
the camp this year, but it seems
It's like
to
you
be
said
very
with
different
that
from
with that
previous.
communication stuff and like the halves not getting what they need. I mean, it's a tale of two teams, isn't it? When you've got one set of halves. I mean, and like I said on paper, DCE and Munster, they're like a great halves combo. They won the Origin together last year. They're both Australian representatives, but they can't do everything. They've got no go ahead from their forwards and everything. I mean, Cleary, on the other hand, is playing for New South Wales. He's the best half in the game, and then they put a team around him, which is just like, win this game, Cleary, and it's the equivalent of giving fucking Usain Bolt a scooter and saying run 100 meters. Like, he doesn't need it. He's got the tools he needs on his own, but then they've given him everything else, and it's like, fuck, what do you do? How do you compete?
Well, the issue is their go forward and their aggressiveness. It's just not there. Like you look at Papali'i, I think, like played a fairly good game. Like he obviously made a difference. Welsh, I'm not really.
He's just hard yards. He's just
but
run the ball up, make the hard tackles. Like
it's a little bit like the
I'm okay
Queensland
with
halves.
watching there.
I'm okay. Don't get me wrong. Like
He's a Hindmarch.
He's definitely up there. But again, he's not as effective when the other guys around him aren't doing what they should be.
It'll be interesting to see Capewell in the second row.
I think he'll add.
That's where he
needs to be.
That's where he belongs. But
100%.
Without getting too much into game 3, I think New South Wales by at least 20 again. Especially down there. Yeah, you said that about game 2, Hodgie. Like,
yeah, but it was also a lot closer, and then it's sort of like.
And,
well, Green's done the right thing. Green's done the right thing again, and after a big loss, dropped the winger, and because so yeah, I mean, honestly though, felt thank fuck he's gone. Seriously,
how long is he contracted?
At the Cowboys,
1 year, only 1 year.
He's not back next year, I don't think.
Yeah, it's almost like they're waiting for fucking Bennett to be finished at South this year.
Honestly, I think that is the case. I reckon Bennett will be back coaching Queensland full time next year.
No, Green got extended, didn't he?
No, he's only got 1 year, man.
Oh, okay.
No, he's only got 1 year.
Which sort of says in itself that they probably weren't that convinced with him to start with. Maybe they just didn't have any other options.
It's rough. It's rough on both sides because I mean, I don't think he's good enough at this stage, but at the same time, they've not said to him, "Listen, you've got a few years to develop the squad you want and stuff." It's just basically hold the reins for a minute.
That's what it seems like is happening. And I personally just don't think he's an Origin coach. It's shown with his
NRL coaching.
Well, look at the team that he's had. Like, obviously, the team hasn't really done what they probably should have, but he definitely hasn't coached them the way that they should have been in the way he's selected, and he's stuck with people like Felt when everyone could see that after game 1 that he probably shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have got a second chance. But I don't know. I mean, I personally think that it's going to be a better contest. The game's going to be a lot slower. I think it still says that they're playing in Sydney, but I can't see that happening. I would assume that would go to Newcastle. So it's going to be, the game would be a lot slower. It'd be a lot more sort of not wet weather, but much more dewy and slippery.
Newcastle rain for sure.
Yeah, I can't really imagine that New South Wales are going to put more than 30 on, not in those conditions. And I think I kind of like I like the Hunt starting at 9. I like the Capel's going back to the second row.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad for Molev not getting the game. I thought he was great.
Molev was one of the best. Yeah,
super aggressive, man. Yeah, really unlucky to miss out. But again,
I would have
ditched Green.
I would have ditched Fafita or bloody Tino for probably Tino.
He's been disappointing, man.
He's been a complete cat, mate.
His club form has been pretty good this year, like Fafita as well. But those two in games 1 and 2 really were just. I think that is like it's easy to say like from where I'm sitting, but I think those two especially were just like, well, we're in the team.
Fafita seems to be he's one of those classic players that when the team's going good, he's unstoppable. But unless he's been spoon-fed, he's just completely not effective at all. Like to the point where it's like, are you even trying? Like, are you trying to get your hands on the ball? Are you trying to put pressure on in defense? Like, what are you doing out there? Like in Tino's defense, I feel like his effort is still there a lot of the time. It's just for whatever reason, it's not working for him as well. It does at club form. But yeah, I definitely would have dropped old mate 100% for Feta. I just don't think he deserves to keep his spot there.
Dave?
So we'll go with the ins and outs. So New South Wales outs. Saifedi's gone now. Cleary and Luai, obviously. So Whiten moves to 5'8". Moses comes in at number 7. Coruscant now comes from the extended bench to 14. And one of my favourite forwards in the world, Finucane, comes in onto the bench from the extended bench. And I'm I don't want anyone in New South Wales to get injured or whatever, but Nico Hines has been moved to the extended bench, and I would kill to watch him get a run. Even though it doesn't really make sense, it's kind of like that AJ Brimson thing. I don't know where or how you'd use him, but I'd love to see him at that.
Man, you guys with your depth at the moment. Remember yesterday when they announced that Saifedi's out? I've gone, fuck yes, thank Christ. And then they said, yeah, so Finucane's in now. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, come on.
It's pretty hectic at the moment. We're definitely going through, it's just like, it's sort of how origin is. There's ebbs and flows. You got like, New South Wales are just in that era for whatever reason. We've managed to have heaps of depth. Hopefully it lasts a little while. So Queensland's outs felt, thank God. I think everyone's happy about that. McCarlick, is he injured or was he involved in something with the Dragons?
I think it's
just lost his spot.
Not required.
And then Molo, obviously, I think is very unlucky to have lost his spot. A few big ins. Ponga goes to fullback. The Hammer comes in the centres. I think that's great.
It's great long term.
Can you use his real name, please?
I couldn't even tell you. Couldn't even try.
Hammer so Tabuai.
Yeah, I don't know. He's the Hammer. AJ Brimson comes in at 14. I actually don't think so, to be honest.
Alexander.
Which is another weird one. It didn't work in game 1, so I don't know why he's come back. And then Kurt Mann and Flegler is on the extended bench. And am I incorrect in saying that Flegler's not even in the Broncos team at the moment?
Oh,
is he coming from Queensland Cup or is he?
No, he comes off the bench for us, but I think
he's in and out of the starting side. Yeah,
they're looking for a bit of chuck him in the camp and see if it improves. He has glimpses, mate, but he's poo. He's poo overall.
I would actually.
He's got hands like feet, man.
Oh really? Oh, that's what you want at that level. I'd actually. I would put. I don't rate him at all, but I would put Kurt Mann in at 14 over Brimson.
Well, as dumb as this sounds, it would make more sense to have Brimson at fullback and Ponga at 14. Just because Ponga can offer more.
Yeah. Well, look at when he played 14. I think he played 14 in his first game, and he
did. He killed it. Yeah. But I still wouldn't do it. I would just drop AJ, and through no fault of his own, he is a gun, and he deserves a Queensland jersey, but there's just not room for him, unfortunately.
I think the biggest, the reason I was saying before about why I think the scores are going to be much closer, other than the conditions, this Queensland team has more points in them than clearly the other two teams, but with Ponga and Hammer coming into the side, I'm liking the fact that they're not just being like, oh shit, we have to defend New South Wales. They're coming out and they've got a team that can actually put on points, as opposed to being strictly about defense. And if this is the game where Queensland's forwards have to stand up 100%, otherwise.
Even if it's just if it's a close loss, but there's improvement, it's improvement for next year's series. But if they go into this game like the shit they dished up in Townsville and Brisbane, and their lack of effort, then it does nothing for us next year. But
if they can finish within 10 points, that's a win for Queensland. I think.
Man, one of
And
one
that's
of the
sad,
most
man.
exciting things
Yeah.
about that for me is Capewell going into the back row where he belongs. Like that's going to make a really good difference, I think, in defence and attack.
Is he on the same
He's-
side as Hammer?
Not sure how they'll be lining up.
Yeah, you would think. I think that
Gag-
he's
Gagai's
strong enough
right
defender.
side. Gagai's right
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, Hammond plays left club.
So it might be. They might put Kafusi with Hammer as far as like I'm thinking about defensive reads.
Well, Kafusi usually plays right side as well, so
Yeah.
So
Tell you what,
it
I'll
might
probably
be Capewell or Hammer.
I would tend to go sort of that more aside from the defensive aspect. I'd lean towards Capewell and Hammer just because I think Capewell has more of an ability than Kafusi to
So
give
who's
him good
right centre
ball.
for New South Wales?
It
Turbo.
would be
Tommy
Turbo.
Turbo.
Turbo
sorry.
and Latrell's on the left.
Yeah.
I think
Who definitely had a quieter game in game 2, but that's not saying much. He was still probably top 3 players on the ground.
yeah, but then you look on the other side, and Latrell's killing.
Yeah,
it.
Latrell.
So just
went
on
ballistic.
that, man of the series, who you got?
I'm going Teddy at this stage.
I'm going Turbo. Just because I think he had such a big game in game 1, he had a pretty good game 2, and I think that he will have an exceptional game 3. Having said that,
Turbo.
I've got man of the match for Latrell.
Yeah,
So-
I got Latrell for the man of the series. I think he's had 2 great first games, and he did a lot of things like that weren't wrapped. You know, that one-on-one steal on Felt that gave them the momentum. Heaps of other stuff, mate.
I think he was very unlucky to not get man of the match in game 2.
Could Cleary or
No,
Luai
I
get,
don't reckon. No, sorry.
could
go on.
Cleary or Luai get man of the series like Munster last year, playing 2 games?
No, definitely not.
Nah, Munster was so influential in game
Yeah,
3 last year.
I know.
I think Cleary and Luai played fantastic, but they just did their job for what they needed to do for the
Yeah.
real big stars to do their thing.
Mm.
Speaking of, so we'll go to game 3. So we'll go who to win, a scoreline, and
How much money are you going to put on
first try scorer and man of
We
the
don't do that
match.
here, Liam.
What do you got, Liam? So who's
Okay.
going to win? What's the margin?
New South Wales by 20 plus at $8.50. Oh, no, sorry. No, I'll go New South Wales are going to win game 3 comfortably in wherever they play. Doesn't matter if it's in fucking Zimbabwe or New
scoreline?
Zealand.
What's your exact score?
I'm going to go 44-10.
44-10. Damn. Who's your first try scorer?
Latrell.
And man of the match?
Latrell.
Stocksy, same questions.
I think I'm going to tip more in line with the heart. And once again, I think Queensland just have too much pride on the line here, and as funny as it sounds, playing in Queensland in drier conditions suits New South Wales more. So maybe playing in the wet in New South Wales is actually going to be beneficial to Queensland. So if it is a bit of a dewy, wet game, which I'm hoping it is, closer game and maybe 22-18, hoping for with Queensland getting the biggies.
Oh, you think Queensland's going to win?
Tipping with the heart, mate.
True. That's fair.
Just saying, you know, that if they do what they need to do and play for pride, then I think they can get the job done in sticky conditions.
First try scorer?
First try. Let's go Hammer on debut.
The Hammer.
Ooh.
And what else am I predicting? Man of the match.
Yeah.
I'm in the event of a Queensland win under these conditions, I'm thinking Ben Hunt might be best on out of hooker.
I think he'll have a good game, to be honest.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
do.
I was quite impressed with him in game 2. Like I thought
Yeah.
he was one of our better players. So
Yeah. And it
Just
showed
going back
it
to
in
your-
his speech as well at the end.
Just going
Yeah.
back to your first try scorer, the Hammer. How unlucky was he the other day with that bloody kick ahead? That would have almost been try of the season. That was unbelievable.
Mm.
Oh shit! Right, Dave. So who's going to win and what's the score line?
Yeah, I can't even bet with my heart, to be honest. I think New South Wales will get up. I think it'll be a little closer, but I think they'll win comfortably. I think it'll be 22-6 to New South Wales. First try scorer will be Addo Carr. Man of the match, I'm going to go Latrell.
I've gone fairly similar. I've got New South Wales to win 24-10. First try scorer To'o and man of the match Latrell. I think he'll have a pretty big game, but I really think that the conditions are going to be much more of a factor
Do we?
than game 1 and 2.
You and me have a bet on, don't we?
Yeah, 50.
What's your details? I'll send it now. Get it over and done with.
I'm not like I think that Queensland have a long way to go to get that. Like obviously there were 2 pretty big scorelines in 1 and 2. I just think this game is going to be vastly different. Like with missing Cleary and Luai. Someone was saying, and they brought up a good point, that they brought in Cleary and is he out?
Sacked by the Dragons. Just in.
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's crazy.
800 grand.
That is crazy.
Wow.
That's what he was
Good
getting
call.
paid,
Great
800
call.
grand.
Good call.
I
from
mean,
him.
ballsy. Real ballsy.
Look, Broncos need a replacement for Lodge. I'm just saying, Stocksy. I won't rule it out.
I'll tell you what, any team that
Mate.
picks him up it's not good. It's not a bad option. Like obviously he has his issues as far as being a clubman goes, and they seem to come to the conclusion that they're going to sack him reasonably easy. Like it was only took a few days. Tell you
Bullimore,
what,
Hetherington, that's all we need, mate.
Hetherington. I like that guy. Yeah, sorry. What I was saying
Kobe
before-
Hetherington.
Oh,
The good one.
What I was saying before with New South Wales, they bought Cleary and Luai in as a halves pairing, and then essentially got New South Wales to play like the Panthers.
Mhm.
Someone brought up a good point in that if they were going to continue to do that, then they should have kept Whiten on the bench, bring in Reynolds and Walker, and then get everyone to play like the Bunnies.
I think it's
Obviously,
Well, they
haven't done
got
that.
the combo with what's his name at hooker? They would have had Damien Cook and then fucking Cam Murray. Like
they could have moved to Latrell to fullback for the game.
Yeah, they could have also, essentially completely changed the way the team was. Even bringing, I think Crichton off the bench to start him and moving Old Mate
Murray.
to 13. To 13. They could have essentially been, like that whole middle section been the Bunnies. But I mean, they haven't. They've gone with Moses. I can kind of understand why he's only 27, so he's somewhat the future if Cleary isn't available. I'm just not that sold on him, to be honest.
Imagine if it comes down to New South Wales needing a penalty goal to win, like, they're 1 point down and Moses lines up for the kick. And
if he misses, he's never played again.
Just imagine it. If it was the exact same circumstances as the Dragons game the other day.
He'd be going to England.
Oh.
Righto. So that's pretty much.
I want that to happen
Origin.
now.
For him to miss.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want him to get it.
Well,
It'd just be so funny if it happened. I'm not
I don't know
a fan.
about you, but knowing Moses, he's going to try his hardest and he'll overplay his hand. I can just fucking see it happening where he'll get really good ball from Cook. He'll have space to give it to Tommy Turbo, Latrell, or Teddy at the back, and he'll just
Go himself, yeah.
Yeah,
that's my
just
issue. Is I think
predictions,
he is going to play selfishly, and he's going to be wanting to come off the field, and everyone being like, "Oh, like now we have to question it if we're going to pick Moses or Cleary." And
You remember,
I don't think that that's going to happen. Like what he
remember
thinks will happen, I don't think will.
Remember a few years ago, Michael Ennis getting dropped for Robbie Farah, and Farah did exactly that, where he came in and he tried to be the hero.
Yeah,
and he just ballsed it up, and he might have even, if I'm not mistaken, he might have even given the ball to Josh Dugan for a field goal attempt, who proceeded to go,
I think,
what
yeah,
the fuck am I
actually,
doing with the
yeah,
ball?
I'm pretty sure that did
Do
happen.
you remember that?
Yeah.
Vaguely,
I just
yeah.
think you look at how Moses is in the Eels, and I think he holds this position of like being a rung above every other player. Like you look at how he spoke to Gutho the other day or the other week, and
Yeah.
people did come out and say, "Oh, that's just how they talk to each other." But like, you have to be a certain person that is willing to talk to someone that way. And I
Yeah.
don't know if Moses is. I think his ego is too big to have the ability to take a back seat to the players that are much better in that team than he is, as far as
Agreed. I agree 100%,
numbers.
man.
And yeah,
Well,
like you
it
said, Dave, I
depends.
think
Who's
he's gonna be the shining star of this game. And I don't think he has the ability to do that. Like he's not
So
better than a lot of the people.
he's obviously going to be driving the team, like because it's not going to be Whiten.
No,
But-
Moses.
But at the same time, Moses, the best thing he could do is listen to Whiten because, I mean, he's played a fair bit of Origin now. He's played in a grand final and stuff like, Whiten is someone that Moses needs to listen to coming in fresh like this.
Which I agree with, but I just don't think that he will. I don't think.
Obviously drive the team, but get some advice from him. But egos.
But instead of like, you have to be willing to like do what Cleary's been doing and give the early ball. Like, don't make it about yourself. Make it about the guns around you that are going to do something with it. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. But
on the
I've
flip
never seen him
side
do
of
it
that as
before,
well,
so.
Turbo and Latrell, they demand the ball as well. Like it'd be hard to not give them ball when they want it.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. We'll see how we go. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think Game 3 will be the best game to watch. All right, we'll move on to our top 3 hookers. Dave, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll do it in a 3-2-1. But
Okay.
number 3, bit of a smoky, is Steve Walters, actually. Sorry.
Not so much of a smoky.
We discussed this.
Yeah, I'll leave it to you, Alan. You can talk as much as you want about why, but I just think it's Steve Walters. My number 2, honestly, like he is my number 2 and number 1 are really close, but Danny Badiris is my number 2. Like growing up, I just remember him being just such a formidable hooker, and he just does. He just combines so well with New South Wales. And Andrew Johns, their partnership was underrated. I know Joey gets a lot of raps, but fuck, he had a lot of really, really good delivery from Danny Badiris there. It's and he's got the whole game. And number 1, I couldn't go past Cam Smith. Just his resume speaks for itself, and he had the whole game too, and he was such a smart player. Like when it comes to intelligence, like if we were to be rating the most intelligent footballer of all time, he'd be the number 1 as well. And he's also the number 1 hooker for obvious reasons.
All right, Soxy, do you want to expand on the Walters?
So yeah, my number 2 is also Danny Badiris. And the reason why he was my number 2 is because he was, at his time, he was the best hooker that had ever played the game. And I say at his time because he replaced Steve Walters for that title. Steve Walters was the best hooker that had ever played the game up until Bedsy. You don't hear too much about it these days, and but he was in an absolutely spectacular Raiders side in the 80s and 90s. He was for the better part of that time, he was the incumbent Queensland hooker and Australian hooker as well. But yeah, he sort of reinvented the way hooker was played at the time. So yeah, that's Steve Walters, my number 3, replaced by Bedsy. And number 1, pretty obvious, Robbie Farah.
I just see him sitting on the scoreboard at Leichhardt.
Isn't that the shittest photo ever? I hate that.
But you do remember when he declared himself as better than Cam Smith. All jokes aside, Cam Smith, it's not a debate. He's the best hooker that's ever been, and he's, in my opinion, he's the greatest rugby league footballer of all time. he's the Jordan of the NRL.
What do you got, Bradley?
I'll go 3-2-1, and I've gone with not necessarily the flashiest player around, and one, Alan Stocks declared him as looking like a toddler running with a shitty nappy, but Jake Friend just tackled, packed the scrum, showed up, premiership player. I was pretty sad, man. Like
Queensland Series winner.
Queensland Series winner. I was pretty sad when he was forced to retire, but just a decent hooker, man. Like he was just nothing flashy, nothing over the top, but just
Tough.
tough, strong, just in that good Roosters era of a just great hooker. Number two.
Who was the hooker before him? Sorry, who was the hooker? I can't remember there being a hooker before Friend.
God, he was around for probably 10 years. Probably Orbison, his brother.
Oh,
Mitch, is it?
Mitch Orbison.
Mitch Orbison. No, he was
him. Who's the other one? He had a brother, but that played a lot of 9.
Oh, was it Craig Wing? Oh,
no, Craig Wing was earlier. It was his Mitch Orbison's brother played there a lot. I don't know whether he was sort of there consistently, but he was definitely one of them.
Yeah, sorry, Brad. Yeah, I was thinking about it.
What was that guy's name?
Yeah, look, we'll have the answer for fans the next podcast. Number 2, I've gone because I love him. I love him as a commentator. I love him as a footballer. I love what he did in Canberra against the fans with the
yes.
Who is it, Dave?
Oh,
yes, Mickey Ennis.
Mickey Ennis.
Mate, he was.
Didn't know.
I wanted to put him in there so bad.
Didn't know, but he started his career at Newcastle.
Yeah.
Ennis the Menace.
In 99 or something like that. It was a long time.
No, he's only 37. My age, our age, your age.
Is he even? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's.
He started at the Bulldogs.
No,
he played at the Dragons before that.
Yeah.
And then he was with the Broncos before he went to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, he's been around a lot of clubs.
He was having house parties after his time at Newcastle. And then Ennis, just fun, man. Like you always knew there was going to be some shit with him, but he's gone into TV now, and like all his beef with Hindy's just a massive laugh now. And he I think consults at Canberra. Is that right, Stocksy? He does some shit with Ricky.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, I liked Ennis. And number 1, we've all said it. I don't think he's the greatest of all time, but he's definitely one of is Cam Smith. But we can get into who I think the greatest footballer ever is. Current assistant at Queensland Maroons.
I was way off with
Billy
Ennis.
Slater.
He debuted in 2003, not 99. My top 3. This is actually the first position where I've felt comfortable doing an actual 3-2-1. My number 3 is Benny Elias. If you talk to, he's sort of probably teetering on the edge of our generation. He sort of probably played most of his footy sort of before like the late 80s into the early 90s. But you ask, not necessarily ask, but you hear people talk about from that generation who was one of the best players going around at the time, and they say it's Benny Elias. You said before, Stocks, about Steve Walters changing the way hookers played, and I actually believe Ben Elias paved that way for how, because you look at the hookers from the early 80s, he was the first one to start becoming quite creative and taking scoots from hooker. So I got him, tough as nails, small bloke, but a gun, especially for that time. Bit of a flog now, but gun for that time. My number 2, Danny Badiris, sort of the same as everyone else for all the same reasons. And number 1 was Cam Smith.
RSL.
But he's not far off.
I did
Ask
say
me again in 10 years.
I did say you thought you were going to say Luke Priddis then, but okay.
There are a couple of other notable mentions. Like I had a 4 and 5 in mind, but
there's a lot of good ones. Like you're saying, Mick Ennis is right up there.
Farah.
Jake Friend, obviously.
James Orbison, that's his name.
Was it?
Farah. Everyone just going to ignore me when I say Farah.
I actually, to be honest, for a lot of his career, he wasn't a bad hooker. Yeah. I think he's one of those players that probably played a few seasons too long and was
loved uppercuts in the scrum.
Loved Ben. When you were talking about, and if you're talking about Tigers hookers who are massive flogs, Elias doesn't even come second to Daylight.
Oh yeah, massive.
Backed into my brother-in-law's car once.
Benny Elias.
No, Farah.
Oh, Farah.
Do you know
That's
the
right.
thing that got me with Farah? You remember there was a segment on the Footy Show years ago where Bo
The restaurant?
we went to the restaurant, to
Yeah.
Farah's restaurant, and started smashing plates.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was good.
Started fucking the place up.
And it's just like anyone would sort of like, you know, take the joke of that, but Farah was fucking filthy ass.
He was
eh?
just seeing
Like,
dollar signs roll over.
yeah,
and
he
plate
was
smashed.
just thinking, like, oh yeah, it's real funny. Yeah, he's gonna pay for it. Yeah. And
Not
I was
much
just
for
like,
fun
have a
stuff.
laugh, cunt.
Yeah.
You.
Yellow, bro.
Anyway.
Yellow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably, if you think about it, there's probably
oh,
arguably
Roosters
more
hookers.
like. Oh,
Sorry, I
sorry.
just thought of Nick Tuperatsis as well. You remember him?
He was
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
second row though, wasn't he as well?
No, Nick Pilatus is the owner.
Of the NRL, yeah, I know.
City forward.
Sorry, just had
Right.
that moment.
We'll we'll wrap it up with round 17 tips. So we'll go around the board. Manly Raiders, Brad.
Manly, just because even with
They're both
Tommy out,
losing.
Tommy and
Yeah.
DC out, and Jake out. Jake's injured, yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
At,
Yeah,
at
no
Lotto-
White nor Papali either. So
at,
or
at,
Papali'i.
Lotto, at Lotto Land or Four Pines, what do they call it these days?
Yeah,
All
4
Pines
points.
Park.
Yep, go Manly.
Stocksy,
Yeah, Manly.
Dave.
Yeah, Manly.
Yeah, I've got Manly as well. Bunnies and Cowboys, Brad.
Oh man, why you gonna do me like that?
I mean, they're missing a few. The Bunnies, they're missing a few.
Cam
No
Murray
Latrell.
and Jai Arrow.
No Murray.
Latrell. Yeah,
no
but Cody
Arrow.
Walk, Rabbitohs,
Damien Cook.
easily.
They've got a lot. To be honest, there you say it. They've got a lot of outs.
Yeah, big
Lot
out.
of outs.
Big out.
And
Yeah.
big ones too. Yeah.
We had a full team against Newcastle. We couldn't do anything, so I'm going to Rabbitohs.
Stocksy.
Yeah, I'll go the Bunnies as well. Walker will have pretty good control of that team.
And Dave.
Yeah, Bunny's too strong.
Yeah, I've gone Bunnies. Dogs v Roosters, Brad.
Roosters, easy.
Stocksy.
Yeah, we'll go Chooks.
Dave.
Chooks by a lot.
I'm actually surprised that the Bulldogs are only paying $7 for that win. I thought it would be much more than that. Yeah, I'm going Chooks as well. Sharks versus Warriors, Brad. God, this is a 50-50 game, I think.
Warriors.
Stocksy.
Is this where someone goes Walsh is out? I'm like, Sharks. No, Warriors.
No, I'll go Warriors as well. Matt Lodge to carve up.
180 meters. First
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
No, I think Sharks will bounce back. I think Sharks will get up this one.
I've got Warriors, but I'm not overly confident.
Yeah, I'm not. This is the one
Very,
the tough game
50.
for the round.
Yeah.
Broncos due
that's
for a
it.
win this week as well. Guaranteed 2 points for the Broncos this week.
Good win against the boy.
Yep.
Alrighty, that's it.
Quick shout out.
that's everything. Quick shout
Got
out.
a birthday today. Pity.
Oh,
birthday, mate.
man.
We forgot.
The sexiest
brother.
man alive.
Jordan.
Unbelievable. Drives me nuts sometimes.
Oh,
And if
it
you
does,
want
actually.
to share the podcast as well, Pity, and get us up to 2 million followers, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah,
Just one out, brother. Just one out.
just a mention, like.
So yeah,
Happy,
um,
boys.
happy birthday, Jordan.
Happy birthday, Pit. Love you, mate.
Get you on here next week with your shirt off, mate. Watch the fucking viewers go up then.
That's it.
Put a few little shark tattoos on you.
Emily Rice.